Okay, so before I start introducing the topic that we are going to talk about today, let me give you a brief self-introduction. So I'm Joshua from Huawei. I'm Huawei Cloud Senior Engineer. Okay, so for today's DTSE Tech Talk, we will talk about the CodeArts, Huawei CodeArts. Okay, so let me show you the contents. All right, so these are the contents that we will be discussing on later, which is the CodeArts overview, the key features of CodeArts, and we'll have hands-on a technical walkthrough, and then lastly for Q&A session. All right, so before I get into CodeArts overview, let me show you a simple instructions. Just a moment. Okay. All right, so in order to use Huawei Cloud and in order to try on our cool labs, so you need a Huawei Cloud account to do that. So it is fairly simple. You just need 3 steps to register as a Huawei Cloud developer. All right, so you can follow this guide to register a Huawei account. Yeah. So the link of this step is provided in the comment section or the description, so you can check it below there. All right, so now let me get back to the slides. Okay, so now let's get started. Okay, so before I start, I would like to show you this. So this is actually the CodeArts interface. So you will see this later on when you access the CodeArts via the Huawei Cloud Console. All right, and then this is the output of the hands-on, the technical walkthrough that we will be going through later, which you will be creating a Phoenix small website on our CodeArts platform. Okay, so now let's get started. So what is CodeArts? So CodeArts is a one-stop cloud-based DevSecOps platform that provides a bundle of out-of-the-box cloud service covering requirement delivery, code commit, code check, code build, verification, deployment, and release. Okay, so it is basically a DevOps platform. So when you talk about DevOps, it is a methodology, a trend, a practice where most of the company used on development. Okay, so with CodeArts, you can use it for project planning, requirement delivery, and then you can have a repository to store your codes. And then you can make use of the CodeArts check to check your code quality. And then you can build it and do deployment. And last but not least, you can also do testing with CodeArts. Okay, so now these are the CodeArts services. So we have 8 different services in CodeArts. So which is the first one, CodeArts requirement, which you can see here, the first one. Okay, and the second one is the CodeArts repo. The third one is CodeArts check, and then CodeArts build, CodeArts artifacts, and CodeArts deploy, and CodeArts test plan. Okay, so for CodeArts requirement, this is where you can set your project requirement. It is mainly for project planning. The project manager can set the project requirement, task, to-do list, and then the developers they can view the task assigned to them via the CodeArts requirement. So we'll talk about this in details later on. So for the CodeArts repo, this is where you store your code. And then for CodeArts check is where you do the quality checking. For the build is that you build your code image. Artifact is the storage for the images. And then CodeArts deploy, where you automate the deployment. And then you can see there's a CodeArts pipeline. So you can make use of this CodeArts pipeline to do a continuous delivery, the CI/CD, automated CI/CD. Okay, so lastly, we have this CodeArts test plan where you can plan all those test cases. Okay. All right, so you can see here, these are some of the CodeArts related services. We have SWR, which once you use the CodeArts build to build your image, the image will be stored into this SWR where you can pull or push images to it. Okay, then you can also connect the CodeArts to the server ECS or your Kubernetes CCE or service stage. So after you connected to this, then you can directly do deployment onto your server or container. Okay, then you can also use it with this AOM and APM for monitoring. Okay, and CTS for audit operation logs. All right, so that's the CodeArts overview. So now we'll go into the key features of CodeArts, which is those 8 services. We'll get into it in detail. All right, so first one is the CodeArts requirement. Okay, so you can see here, this is a summary of the CodeArts requirement. So CodeArts requirement is an agile project management and collaboration service for software development teams. So imagine you have a large complex project to build and you are the project manager and there are few team leads under you and also a few team which are the front end design team, back end team, microservices. Okay, so as a project manager, you are able to set requirements by using this CodeArts requirement. Okay, you can set up and manage large-scale complex product. And also, CodeArts requirement supports cross-project and cross-region collaboration, which means that you can, for all these complex, and you have a team coming from all over the world, you guys can work together on this platform. All right, so let me show you another one, which is this. Yeah, this might be clearer to you, where a project manager can define the epics, break down epics into features and story, which is all the tasks and requirements. Okay, and then when developers come in, they can see all the tasks and the plans assigned to them. Okay, and then team leaders can assign all the story to the developers, assign the task to them. Okay, so this CodeArts requirement, you can have multiple roles. You can set up multiple roles. All right, so this is how it is for CodeArts requirement service, where once you create a project, it's a Scrum. Okay, then you name a project template, project name, okay, and project code. And then, yeah, once you get into, after the project is created, you can see here, we have requirements, work items, sprint. All right, so yeah, it's a agile platform where you can set all these tasks, sprint logs to your team. Yeah, and then you can know the progress of your team and the progression by sprint. Yeah, sprint log. All right, so yeah, this is how you set up, where we have epics. This is a bigger view. And then after epics is come to features, story, and last task. All right, So task is those that the developers will need to work on. For these tasks, they will need to work on these tasks in order to have these stories and feature done. Okay. So the next one is CodeArts repo service. Okay, so CodeArts repo is a distributed version management platform that uses the Git workflow. So basically, it is a repository management system where you can host and upload your codes. Okay, so CodeArts repo provides you with secure and resilient code hosting service on the cloud. Okay, so this service is deployed by Huawei for the full stack based on the cloud native architecture. So when we talk about secure and resilient code hosting service, so with this CodeArts repo, you can also set permission. You can see, and also roles. And you can see here as a repository administrator and developer, you can set different permission for them, where either they can delete or create a branch or merge a branch, pull codes, merge commits, and etc. Right. So yeah, here, this is the interface view of this CodeArts repo, where you can create multiple repositories here. And then you can see existing merge requests, last updated, the dashboard. Okay, so yeah, that's another advantages of CodeArts repo is that when you are trying to create a repository, a new repository, we do have some presets and templates for you to choose from. So if you are trying to build something from scratch, then let's say today I'm going to build a Springboard application. Then when you are creating the repository, you can directly choose the template of a Springboard. So all the required files will be in there already. So it will save up a lot of time for you. Yeah. Okay, so this is how the interface when you get into a repository, where you can see all these are the files. Yeah, and this is the hierarchy view. All right, so next we'll come to CodeArts check. So this CodeArts check is actually for you to check your code quality. Yeah, so you can see here is quality and security check service to scan over 10 billion line of code per day. All right, so the advantage of it is that it is easy to use and it is comprehensive. So by default, we also provide multiple code support, which means doesn't matter if you are coding in Java, JavaScript, C, C++, Python, or any languages, we do have already those quality checks threshold for you to choose to check the code quality. Okay. So here, for the same one is that for CodeArts check, you can have different permission, okay, for different tasks. So you can see we have project creator, project manager, developer, task manager, tester, participant, viewer, custom roles. So different roles can have different permission for this CodeArts check. Okay, so for a clearer picture of CodeArts check, you can view here. So this is the CodeArts check process, where start, you need to create a task first. All right, so once you create a task, then you need to configure the rule set. Then after that, you run the task and end. Okay, so every time when a task is run, okay, then it will return with the credit or the threshold telling you the scoring of this task, okay, the quality of the code. So you can set a threshold, maybe like a 60. If it is above 60, then yeah, it passes the CodeArts check. But if it is below, then you can set a notification, yeah, for the developer to enhance the code or optimize the code. All right, so this is the interface for CodeArts check. You can see the check here. So these are the tasks. So you can see if it is below the threshold, then the quality gate here, it will show you fail. When it is above the threshold, then it is passed. All right. So you can see how here issues, you can have issues here, the detected issues. All right. So next one, we come to CodeArts build. So for CodeArts build provide an easy-to-use cloud-based build platform that supports multiple programming languages. Same to CodeArts Check, we support different types of programming languages. So it helps you to achieve continuous delivery, CI/CD, with shorter delivery period and higher delivery efficiency. So with CodeArts build, you can create, configure, and run build tasks with a few clicks. And also it supports automation of code retrieval, build, and repackaging, as well as real-time status monitoring. Okay, so why do we need to use CodeArts build? Because CodeArts build supports parallel build, where you can have multiple build running at the same time. Okay, and it is fast. Right, so here you can see this is the interface for CodeArts build, where you can see we also have multiple build tasks. Okay, so here you can see the last execution is by whom. So this is the user, and then this is the branch, where you can see it's built on using the master branch from your repository, and then this is the code, the commit code. All right, and then result here you can also see red color. You can see red color means it failed, and green means it is successful. So you can see here in front here also have, and then the build time. Okay, so with CodeArts build, for example, for some framework like a Spring Boot or React Native, where you need to build a package or image in order to deploy it on your server. So you can set the CodeArts build to build the image and deploy it automatically with some parameters, which we will be going through this later on the technical walkthrough. All right, so next we come to this CodeArts artifact. So it is corporate level central repo, featuring trustworthy, secure, efficient, and it is easy to use. So CodeArts artifact is used to manage artifacts after source code building. So it supports common artifacts packages type such as Maven, NPM, PyPL, and NuGet. All right, so it can seamlessly interconnect with local build tools to perform CI/CD, the continuous integration and deployment on cloud. Okay, so of course, it has important functions such as those artifact package version management, fine-grained permission control, and then implementing software package lifecycle management, and many more. At the same time, it is also running on a high speed where it has a large bandwidth and stable. Okay, so this is how it looks like on the Huawei Cloud Console for this CodeArts artifact. So you can see here we have release repos and also self-hosted repo. Okay, so within here, these are the artifacts history. You can the artifacts records, and then you can view the details here. All right. So next, we come to this CodeArts deploy. So this CodeArts deploy is used for deployment where, like I mentioned previously, once you build your image or package using the CodeArts build previously, and then you can link it to this CodeArts deploy where you can automate the deployment of the image or package onto your server. Either it is on ECS, the cloud server, or CCE Kubernetes, or even within the Docker. Okay. So CodeArts Deploy has some features such as it supports host deployment and container deployment, like I mentioned previously, the Kubernetes and the Dockers. And then it also provides system templates such as Tomcat Server, Spring Boot, Django. So yeah, when you're creating a task, a CodeArts deploy task, we have some templates for you. Of course, you can also edit it or create a whole new one with your own task, okay, and the steps. All right, so this is how it looks like for the CodeArts deploy. This is the application name, okay, and here you can see the last deploy is done by whom, okay. So here, CodeArts pipeline. So the next one, CodeArts pipeline, is where you can set a series of action from the CodeArts services. For example, I can set, let me show you another screen, which will be much clearer. Okay, so this is CodeArts pipeline, where you can set a CodeArts repo. This is the pipeline source. So at here, you can set that once every time there is a new commit or new push to this repository or a merge, then it will automatically trigger the CodeArts build where it starts to build the package. Okay, so this is the build task. You can set which build task to run. So once the build task is success, then it automatically goes to deploy, where it do the deployment to your server. All right, so this code as your own like, okay. So for example, you can also add a new pipeline in between this build and pipeline source, where you can add the CodeArts check before you build the code. Then you can do checking first on the code quality. Okay, so this is CodeArts pipeline, where you set a series of action to do the automated CI/CD. Okay. All right, so next one is this CodeArts test plan. Okay, so this is actually a one-stop test management platform. So it covers the entire test process from planning to design, cases, execution, and evaluation. Right, so it actually takes advantage of Huawei's years of high-quality software test engineering methods and practices to carry out collaborative, efficient, and trustworthy test activities for your product release. Okay, so it is actually agile, okay, so it is efficient, where it allows you to efficiently design and execute cases, okay, and you can submit defects and view the test reports. Okay, it's also support bi-directional tracking for these test requirement test cases and suites. All right, so it also have a visualized dashboard where it collects the statistic on the test progress, the defects, and etc. All right, so these are the CodeArts key features of CodeArts, the 8 services of CodeArts. All right, so next I will go through the technical walkthrough. Okay, so actually we will not be going through the hands-on as the time restriction for 1 hour is quite limited. So instead of hands-on, so we will be going through this technical walkthrough, which I will walk you through the CodeArts. Okay, so give me some moment. Let me share my browser. Right. Okay, so yeah, this is the Huawei Cloud official website. All right, just a moment. Okay, so first, in order to access CodeArts, you need to get into Huawei Cloud console. So how to get into the console? Once you visit the Huawei Cloud website, All right, then you need to first log in. Okay, so at the upper right side here, there is a sign up and login button. If you haven't signed up, then you can follow the guide provided previously to sign up. Okay, so if you have an account, then you can sign in. So after you sign in, here will be your username, and then you can access the console here. All right. So once you access the console, you can access CodeArts by clicking these three hamburgers icon, these three bars at the left side. Click it. On the expanded view, here you can search for CodeArts. All right. So yeah, here you can see developer services, CodeArts. Okay, and also these are the services. So we will access it via the CodeArts, the first one. Okay, click into it, and then click access service. All right. So by default, this is the CodeArts dashboard where you can have different projects here. It will show here if you have numbers of projects. Okay, so for this technical walkthrough, let me show you another guide. Okay, so basically, we do provide a documentation on how to use CodeArts with some samples, like I mentioned previously, to build a Phoenix Mall with a front end user to browse through your products, and then a back end to view a dashboard to view. Okay, so you can open up the products, and at the search here you can search for CodeArts. All right, click into CodeArts and then click on documentation. Okay, so at the left side you can see there is a section named best practices. So click onto it and then click this Huawei E2E DevOps. So yep, here this is the documentation, or I can say the guideline for you to test on Huawei CodeArts, where it teaches you one by one step from managing the project plans to writing codes, checking codes, building codes, deployment, all right, managing project testing, the whole pipeline is here. Okay, so let me show an example by clicking into one of the steps. You can see writing code. It teaches you how to make use of the Huawei CodeArts repo, okay, where you create a repo, all right, with all these steps. Okay, so by following all these steps, you will be able to create or to test on the Phoenix Mall projects. Or there's another way where you can search on Huawei Cool Labs. So here, okay, so for Huawei Cool Labs, it is actually a sandbox environment for you to test on Huawei Cloud products and services within the sandbox. So since it is within the sandbox, it is totally free of charge. Okay, so let me introduce this Cool Labs for you as well. So within this Cool Labs, we actually have different type of courses and classes. You can see from networking to enterprise web, Spark RTC, which is the web RTC for live conference, video conference. All right. So you can see we have different fields and different levels for beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Right. So for this CodeArts, today we talk about CodeArts, right? So it is within the developer services field. Right. So once you get into this, you can see we have deployment and release by CodeArts. Right. So you can click onto this, and then you can see this Cool Labs sandbox is actually the one that I showed you previously on the Huawei Cloud documentation page, which is this page, where you can see the steps. All right, set up everything is actually same to the best practices as I shown you previously on the documentation page, where this is with a collab sandbox. Okay, so yeah, you can try it on later on your own, either if you prefer to refer to the documentation or by using the sandbox, the collab sandbox. Okay, so now let me show you the actual collapse, this Phoenix Mall. So, okay, so as I mentioned previously, we have CodeArts requirement. So this work is actually the CodeArts requirement. So you can see, we can set work items for the developer, okay, where the team lead or even project manager, they can set task item and assign it to the developer, okay. And then at the same time, team leads can also set sprint, weekly sprint for the sprint, the task to do, and then they can also check the previous sprint, okay. And then the statistic, okay, you can see how well is the development process ongoing, okay, and reports. Okay, so plans, you can see here plans. So this is the overall plans. You can see the first one is the epic. The epic is that what we want to do. Okay, so we want to set up a Phoenix Mall website. So this is the plan. So this is epic. So features are the features. So what does my project needs to have? Okay, so features are my website needs to be able to manage promotional activities. I need to be able to manage members, manage orders. I need to have a dashboard. All right. So within these features, then it expands into stories, okay, where admin will be able to add time limited discount. Admin can add group buying activities. All right. So these are the story. Okay. So within the story, there for the team leads, they can set task, correct? Task to accomplish these stories. Okay, so for example, let's say if admins need to set members level, then the team leads can create a task. Okay, create a task where the task for the developer is that they need to set up a database for members. Okay, they need to set up the hierarchy, the privilege. So this is the CodeArts requirement where it is for project management. Okay. So next one is the CodeArts repo. All right, so this is the repository where you store your code versioning. Okay. Okay, you can see here we have the total of commits branches. Okay, these are the files and these are the codes. Okay, so when you are trying to do the CodeArts Phoenix Mall sample, we actually already provided you all these sample codes. So you don't need to really like upload or prepare your codes because we provide a template for you to test on this Phoenix Mall. So when you create a project and you select the Phoenix Mall sample, then all this will be already in here. Yeah. So this is the repo where you can, it works just like any of the Git repo services such as GitLab, GitHub. All right. So of course, our CodeArts repo also supports those third-party VCS versioning control, such as if you are wanted to use a third party to connect to this CodeArts repo, it is doable. Yeah. Like source tree. So the next one is this CodeArts check where you check for the code's quality. All right, so you can see here we have different tasks. You can set up different tasks for Java, for any programming languages. Okay, so let me click into the task for you to see. All right, you can see here. These are the threshold, the passing point to gate pass. Right, so I have 0 issues. Right, so here you can see the logs. Okay, metrics, which is the Python. And if there's any issue with the codes, then you can see it here. You can find it here. All right, so let me show you how to create a task for this CodeArts check. Okay, so you can just click this create task button. All right, so actually this CodeArts check isn't only work on CodeArts repo. You know, you have a repo in the CodeArts repo, right? But if you are having repository outside of Huawei Cloud, let's say on GitHub, then you can also connect it with Git. All right. So yeah, by selecting this, you can create tasks. So I actually already created the task, so you can see it's already showing me created. All right. So this is how you create the task. So there, after you create the task, you can set the rules, the inspection rules. You can see we support different languages from Java, C++, Python, Golang, okay, TypeScript, PHP, and so on. Right, and then these are the rules. Right, for example, you can see for Java. Okay, these are some of the rules. Okay, so we actually already provided all these rules for different languages for you to use it directly to check the code quality. All right, so you don't really need to spend time to define your own rules. Okay, if you want to, you can also do that. Okay, so next, the CI/CD. So the flow is that after you do the checking, then we will do build. We build the package. So here you can see we also, same as the CodeArts check, you can create tasks, build tasks. Okay, so for this build task, you can see, let me modify. Okay, you can see these are the steps to build. Okay, so you can actually edit it. You can see here there's a plus button and here you can add you can add new steps. Okay, or you can remove it as well. If you don't want these steps, you can just delete the steps. Okay, so you can configure the build step on your own preference. Okay, so you can see here we will build the vote image. After building vote image, we'll build the result image, and then we will install the worker dependency using Maven, and we'll create a Postgres, Redis, and then we'll upload to Kubernetes, deploy files, and Docker Compose. Right, you can see these are the series of steps for CodeArts build, where you build the package or image. Okay, so once you're done build, then you need to deploy, where we deploy it to your server. Okay, so here you can see we can deploy it. It's like template. Yeah, you can see here. We have also these templates, like you can deploy a Django application, deploy a Docker application for Linux, or Node.js or Go application. So you can directly use this. So for example, today I'm going to deploy a Django application. I just click this. Then you can see we already provided you the template or the list, the step that need to be done to deploy a Django application. Where first, it will automatically install or update the Python on your host. And then install Django and UWSGI. Install the web server and Nginx. Okay, start the web server. And then download software package, decompress it, and then restart and reload the web server. And then you can, lastly, it will automatically ping the host to test if the service is running. Okay, let's see, we already have all these preset steps, so it will ease your work a lot when you are trying to doing deployment. All right, so now before I end, let me show you the pipeline. Okay, so for the pipeline, you can see here where I create a pipeline. Same, I can choose the source, where is your repository hosted on. It's either hosted within the Huawei Cloud or on external Git, or is on your own server, a Git server on your own. And then the branch, which branch that we are listening on. All right. Okay, so here we also provide templates for this pipeline. Of course, if you doesn't wish to use our templates, you can create your own. Right. So for example, like just now, I mentioned that we want to build a, let's say, a Django application. So here I will just choose a Python build and click OK. And you can see here, repo. So I can add either adding steps in between, or I can remove it. All right. So what I can do is that after I have the codes, after there's any merge or commits, what I need to do here. So here maybe I want to check the code first. I will add the check, CodeArts check. So you can give it a name. So these are the tasks that you created previously on the CodeArts check. So for here, I choose the worker, repository, check mode, full or incremental. All right. So I just click OK. All right. So after there's commit, it will automatically do the checking, the code quality check. So after checking if the threshold pass, if the check quality pass, then what can I do? So maybe I can set up where I want to build. You can see build. I want to do cloud build, where I want to build the application. Okay. So once I built, what I want to do, maybe I can do deployment. Right. After build, then I will need to do deployment. Then I can just add deployment, the CodeArts deploy. So this select a task. These are the deployment tasks that you created on the CodeArts deploy. Okay, so you can just choose the deployment task you want. All right. Then click OK. Then it will be here, and then you can click save and run. Okay, then it will do the automated CI/CD pipeline from building, checking, building to deploying, and also testing if you want. All right. So this is the technical walkthrough where I show you all the CodeArts basic configuration and settings on how to use this. All right. So let me get back to my slides. All right, so before we end, we'll have a Q&A session. So if there is any questions or any problems regarding this Huawei Cloud CodeArts services, so you may just raise your voice, or you can just type in the chat box and we will reply. Okay. All right, so I think that's all for today's DTT, today's DTSE Tech Talk. That's all for now. All right, thank you for your time, and we will see you again on the next DTT session.